about the two different versions of the moral golden rule. The positive version is do things that you want to be done to you. The negative version is don't do things that you don't want it to be done to you. So that what's the difference? Well, in most cases, these two different versions of the golden rule, the positive one is generally called the golden rule, and the negative one is generally called the silver rule. But for under most application, both of these rules will give us approximately the same behavior. Basically, this moral rule depends on ourselves as the standard to judge whether an act is deemed moral or not. If you think that thing you are going to do to other people, to you it doesn't matter, then it's considered moral. You do something to others which you don't want to be done to yourself, using yourself as a standard, then it is immoral. So basically, it's making use of ourselves, our own empathy or sympathy or compassion as a standard. Well, we know that among most animals, including us, about 3% of the people do not have that sense of empathy. So to them, that would be a problem. I am not saying that these people are not moral or sorry. It's just their mental conditions, their brain is just don't have that wiring, the connections to give them the ability to feel empathy. So that would be one problem where when we want to apply this moral rule to these people, they would just have to remember, oh, this is the rule, so I will do it. That's it. They don't have feelings. But for most people, we will base on our own feeling. We know to do good or bad. But are there differences in these two versions? I think so. There's one difference, and this difference actually is reflected in how Chinese government is behaving versus the Western governments. Let me explain. But the positive version comes from the Bible, whereas our negative version, the Chinese follow the negative version, come from Confucius. So both of them have huge impact on both cultures. The Chinese have been under this rule for 2,500 years, and the Western societies about 2,000 years. So both our societies have been subjected to different versions of the same kind of moral rule. But what's the difference? Well, let me explain. If I am a Christian, say, well, I'm not, but let's say I'm a Christian. So I will think, okay, people trying to convince me to be a Christian is good. I feel good about it. So I will go around and preaching Christian to other people because I feel good about it. Therefore, I do it to other people as well. That's the moral golden rule. But if we apply the negative version, the silver rule, I will ask, well, if somebody is telling me to believe in Islam, how I feel? I don't feel comfortable. So I will also think, hey, in that case, if I apply my Christianity to other people, they may not feel comfortable. Therefore, because I don't feel comfortable, so I don't want to do it to other people to make them uncomfortable. So the way we treating other people is mostly we will try to be a bystander. That means, well, I don't want to interfere with your affairs. But if you need help, we are more than happy to help. That is very apparent in terms of giving aids, especially to the African countries. The Western governments giving aids to the the African countries usually accompanied with requirements of improvement in human rights, in democracy, and there are values imposed onto the recipients in order to move them forward. Whereas in the case of Chinese, they believe in the non-interference. It is your internal politics. I don't want to deal with it. If I think I can help, and if you welcome my help, I will come in and help you. Otherwise, I'm not interfering with you. Whatever you want to do with your people, your government, none of my business, basically. So that is a major difference. And that difference reveals the long-term cultural impact of these different versions of the moral rule. The golden rule means you want to impose values which you think is good to other people. Whereas in the negative version is we don't want to impose anything to you. We take a more bystander position. If you want my help, I can come in, but you don't want, I won't impose anything to you. Why I pick up this problem? Well, basically is about the demand for democracy protest that's happening in Hong Kong. I'm born in Hong Kong. I'm also educated in the colonial education system in Hong Kong. As I'm growing up, I'm knowledgeable about the Great Leap Forward and the Great Famine thereafter, and also the Cultural Revolutions. I think I understand why that had happened. So I'm not sympathetic to the Communist Party. But we have to acknowledge things where it is good. So since the Chinese opening, the Communist Party do really have done something very good for the Chinese people. It is estimated that about 600 million Chinese have been lifted out of poverty, from poverty lines. And today, the Chinese basically is able to look after their food and clothing, the two most essential things about living. So basically, Chinese people is now content. They are also feeling very optimistic. The country is moving forward, and now it is the second largest economy, and in real terms, it may actually be the largest economy, depending on how you want to measure it. If you measure on the real values of the services that is apparent in China compared with US, then in terms of real service, using the real value, then China is already the world's #1 economy. I also have talked about the problems with the current marriage between the democracy and capitalism. We are seeing the flaws of this thing coming up pretty obvious now. If you don't understand it, then I don't think there's any excuse, because after all, we should understand our political system. At the moment, the democracy having very short election cycles, costly elections, meaning the vested interests have deep pockets and can influence politicians, so forth and so forth. For example, I just watched a video from PBS on YouTube talking about how Philadelphia's secondary schools don't have the funding to last for months. I don't know how much money it will need in order to get the school system back to running again. A couple of millions, maybe 10 millions or 100 millions, I don't know. But let's say 10 millions can solve the problem. Now, looking at the missiles that are being used in Middle East, it costs over $1 million each. So 10 missiles will be able to at least solve the current problem of the secondary schools running out of money. Why the US government is not doing that? I don't understand. I totally cannot understand it. Full stop. Well, if you want me to explain why, I think, with the military industrial complex spending their money wisely. Or is it because the two political parties are at each other's throat? They are more interested in fighting rather than solving problems. I don't know. It is their politics. So my question is, what is the ideal utopia for Chinese? In the Confucius, we have the so-called the great togetherness, 大同. What we want is 國泰民安. Now, translated in English is we want the country to be peaceful. We don't want wars between our country and somebody else. We just want peace. That's the first two parts, 國泰. 民安 means the citizens want to be leave alone and let them live their lives. In this so-called ideal society in China, we talk about we can go out without closing your door. Well, because the people are content, they don't want the society is not greedy. You have something, fine. I also have it, so I don't have to steal from you. And the 大同社會 is also talking about mutual trust. The society is based on understanding and trust. That is the kind of utopia we are looking for. We don't like confrontation. We don't like confrontation in the country level as well as in the local level. We want to live in peace. Simple, pretty simple requirements. Is democracy the best way forward? I really don't know, because I'm seeing the flaw in democracy, at least this Western democracy now. So I won't recommend democracy to China. What should be their path? I don't know. If I know, I would definitely tell everybody, because I'm passionate about both the Western countries in which I'm living now, as well as my motherland. China is my homeland. So if I know the answer, I definitely would tell, but I don't know. So what is the path to go forward? Time will tell. Let them try it out. Look at the facts. Look at how people are living. Look at the citizens. Then we slowly try to find a political system suitable for Chinese. Like the silver rule. We don't want to impose our values onto others. Let them find their own values. So introducing democracy in Hong Kong, maybe this is what the Hong Kong people want. That's fine, totally fine. But if it's not what they want, then we don't want to force them. We don't want to force them. It is something. It's an internal politics. And if you're interested, you go on the street, do a demonstration, fine. But after a while, then go back to our utopia. Say that we want a peaceful life. Let's get on with our life. You are farmers, go back to your field. If you are a merchant, open your shop and sell the goods you have. Or if you are employees, go back and do your work. That's what we want. We just want a life. So I suggest people in Hong Kong should now start thinking, okay, the message is out now. Everybody knows about it. It may be time for the other people also have their lives, have their peace. And then it has been very peaceful. It is good, but don't let it becomes a violence. Let the protest end peacefully as well. Thank you.